brought to you by JEGS.
Hello everybody, I'm Zac Collins with Scorpion Racing Products, and I want to take some time today to review the features and benefits of our LS Rocker Series. Our LS Rocker Series has been available for the LS1 since 2008 and for the LS3 and L92 applications since 2017. All of our rocker arms are manufactured and assembled 100% in our Florida facility. We are ISO 9001 certified. All of our materials, aluminum and steel, are all US source components, and we do everything 100% in-house. Our LS3 rocker arms are available for aftermarket and stock cylinder heads. Our LS1 rocker arms are also available for stock configurations and aftermarket heads as well, more of the popular applications that are out there. Our materials that we use are a 7000 series aerospace alloy with a special temper that has better performance characteristics at operating temperature than some of the other 2000 series alloys you'd see out on the market today. All of our steels for our subassembly components, our trunnions, our pins, our rollers, and our pushrod seats are manufactured from aerospace quality, bearing quality steel, and are all certified as well. Hello everybody, this is Zac Collins with Scorpion Racing Products. I just wanted to take a few minutes today to review the installation procedure for our LS rocker arms. To begin the installation procedure, you'll have to gather all the tools that are required for the process. You'll need a 6mm Allen wrench, as well as a torque wrench, whether it's click type or digital. You'll also need a crank socket and a ratchet to be able to turn the crank and rotate the engine. And you'll also need a black Sharpie if you have an aftermarket cam and different cylinder heads than stock to verify that you have the correct pushrod length and pattern on the valve. Okay, in order to install your new Scorpion LS rockers, the first thing you're going to need to do, if you have an existing engine with rockers on it, is to remove those. So you want to rotate the engine over by hand in the normal direction of rotation until the specific rocker that you want to remove no longer has any load on it and the valve is closed. So you're going to just watch the engine, rotate it until that rocker arm has some free movement in it and the valve is all the way closed. You're going to take your 6mm Allen wrench, you're going to go ahead and loosen that bolt, take it all the way out, and remove the rocker assembly. Continue that process all the way down cylinder by cylinder until all of the stock rockers are removed, and then you're going to remove the stock one-piece rocker stand that's bolted to the cylinder head. Once you've done that, you'll be at the point where you see here on the number 1 cylinder where it's just the bare cylinder head, and you're ready now to install your Scorpion rockers. The first step in installing your Scorpion rockers will be to roll the engine over by hand and get it in a position where you can install the intake rocker. If you can't tell which port and which valve is the intake or exhaust, look at your intake port and look at your exhaust port. My intake port is in front of my exhaust port, so I know my intake valve is going to be in front of my exhaust valve. So on number 1, the front valve is the intake valve, so that's the one we're going to be installing first. So in order to get it to the position where we can actually install it, we need to rotate the engine over until the intake is on the base circle of the cam. We're going to watch the tips of the push rods, and we're going to rotate the engine over, keeping pressure on the push rod tips to make sure they stay in the lifters. And we're going to rotate until the exhaust push rod just starts to open. When that starts to open, we know that our intake is on the base circle of the cam. So you can see here the exhaust push rod just lifted, so now we're in the position where we can install the intake rocker. The first thing you want to do is grab your U-channel, grab 1 bolt and 1 washer, go ahead and slide the washer over the bolt, place the U-channel onto the cylinder head, and on the exhaust side, we're going to go ahead and just insert the bolt just to keep the U-channel aligned while we install the intake rocker arm. Now the next step is going to be to remove your push rod, grab some cam and lifter and assembly lube, and you want to lube both ends of the push rod just enough so that way it's wet. And once you have both ends of the push rod lubricated, go ahead and slide the push rod back into the engine, put some downward pressure on the push rod and rotate it to make sure it's engaged in the lifter. And now you're ready to install your rocker arm. So we'll grab our rocker arm, our bolt, and our washer. We'll slide the washer over the bolt. Then we'll slide the bolt into the rocker arm, making sure the flat side of the trunnion is facing up. And then we'll grab our pedestal, and then we'll slide our pedestal onto the bottom of the bolt, making sure that the radius end of the pedestal is facing the rocker arm and the flat end of the pedestal is facing down toward the cylinder head. Now we'll go ahead and slide the bolt into the hole and let the rocker fall on top of the push rod into place. Slowly hand tighten the bolt until you feel it start to engage. go ahead and grab your 6mm Allen. Go ahead and slowly start the bolt and tighten it until it's almost flush with the top of the washer. Once you're at that point where it's almost flush with the top of the washer, you're going to check for zero lash. Zero lash is when the push rod can no longer move up and down. So we want to make sure, right now I can move the push rod up and down. So I'm going to tighten this bolt just a little bit more until I have no free upward or downward movement on the push rod. So now I'm at zero lash. Now we're going to set our preload on the lifter, and we want to be between 1/4 and 3/4 of a turn for proper preload. If you have aftermarket lifters, you want to check your manufacturer's installation instructions to verify what preload they want, which may be different from stock. So we're going to go ahead and put our Allen wrench in, and we're going to count the number of rotations we have until the rocker fully tightens. So you can see here, half a turn, a full turn, a turn and a half. I'm at about a turn and 3/4. That's too much preload. That means I either need a shorter push rod or I need to shim my pedestal up. So I'm going to go ahead and back off the bolt, remove the rocker arm, and instead of buying another set of push rods that are a little bit shorter, we sell shim kits that go directly under the pedestal. And what I'm going to do is take this rocker assembly off. I'm going to grab my shims. I'm going to slide those right underneath the pedestal and just start them right on the bolt. And once they're in place, I'm going to go ahead and slide the entire rocker assembly back into the U-channel. Just as before, go ahead and start the bolt in the hole, let the rocker fall onto the push rod, hand tighten the bolt first, and then go ahead and grab your Allen wrench, and we're going to go through the same exact procedure. Run the bolt down until it's almost flush with the face of the washer, and then check for zero lash. I can still move my push rod. I'm not quite at zero lash yet. Now I have no upward or downward movement in the push rod. I'm at zero lash. We're going to go ahead and place our Allen wrench into the bolt, and we're going to rotate a half a turn. I'm at about 5/8 of a turn. That's perfect. You want between 1/4 and 3/4, and that's exactly where we should be. If you're running an aftermarket cam with high RPM application, you want to make sure you stay to the lighter side of the preload, about 1/4 turn. That way, if your lifters do get in a pump-up situation at high RPM, you don't have issues. Okay, the next step is to verify that the fastener is actually torqued properly. So I'm going to torque this to 20 foot-pounds. You can look at the manufacturer specifications if you want to use a different torque setting. I have my torque wrench with a 6mm hex socket. I'm going to go ahead and install it, and I'm slowly going to pull until I reach my torque setting, and I'm at 20 foot-pounds, and I know that the rocker is completely installed, it's got the correct preload, and the torque is correct on the fastener. Now we can move to the exhaust side. In order to get to the proper point for rotation for the exhaust to be in the position where we can install it, we're going to rotate the engine over, again in the normal direction of rotation, until we see the intake rocker fully open and then begin to close. Once the intake rocker starts to close, the exhaust is on the base circle of the cam. So right there, the intake started to close, the exhaust push rod is all the way down, and now we can repeat the installation procedure for the exhaust side of the cylinder head.
Brought to you by JEGS. Fast Delivery. Your source for high performance and quality. Delivering performance since 1960. JEGS.com.